Okay, good morning to all of you. Dear students, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Very good, very good. So I could hear Kannadasan. Well,
Good morning, madam.
good morning to all of you. Good morning, Solomon. And now we will start with the nutrition aspect. I don't know how many of you have already undergone. I'm not aware of it. But then since the topic now has come and it could be a little of general to you all, and I think you all can join me. So let me go with the sharing of the slide. We should not waste the time. And Mebelda ma'am, I'll start now. Huh?
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Right. So, nutrition, you all know, today it is playing a very vital role in today's world, whether it is um, any pandemic all over the world. You know, the diet has caused a very remarkable impact on the people who take a proper diet. So you people have to adhere to the nutrition for the sportsmen and also for the general people. So once you get into this subject, you know, you should be aware of everything. Let us not be I mean, think in a very small circle. You have to be more wider. You have to gain more knowledge. So I think Felix sir has brought out the other group of people with the weight management also in a group. So to eat is necessary, but to eat intelligently is an art. So this is a great thing. If you're taken to a buffet, how do you eat? Whether you eat only biryani or you go with only one particular curd rice or that, now that should not be the thing. So you should have your plate, which should be decorated, as I've been telling, in a colorful manner, and start with the salad bar and then get on to it. Right. So in my next slide, I would be speaking to you. So since you all are very learned students and you all are aware of what nutrition is, but still, before I get on to nutrition is an area. So let me put it as nutrition is one area where we have major control daily. We make a lot of decisions that impact our nutritional health. So when I eat today, if I eat a lot and then I sit in front of you, I'll keep making dakars, you know, yapam. It keep coming. I would not have a presence of mind to handle the classes. So when you go for the examination, when you go for the interview, when you go for a war, you know, those days Rajas used to eat heavily and go, because from morning they'll have their lunch come brunch come dinner, and then after the sun sets or Surya Asta, you know, they'll come back. So they will not have a lunch break like the way we people are having in our office scenarios to have our lunch. So this would not be given to them. That is why those people used to have food which used to be very deep fried, oily, full of salt, spicy. All that used to be the actual scenario. So that is where the Sadhvik, Tamasvik and the Rajasvik food, you know, in yogic practice had come into implementation. So we decide where to eat, what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat, right? And whether to eat or not, you know, that is another thing which comes into the fact. So Thiruvalluvar used to say, when you feel hungry, only then you should eat and not before that. So I went to IIT, and there in the gymnasium, I saw one beautiful saying written: no living being eats other than human being if they are not hungry. So this is what happens if you move around the lion. You know, if the lion is not hungry, it will not try to catch you or catch the trap or trap the prey. You know, that what it goes with it. But here in human being, we keep eating. So every time, where you are eating, what you are eating, with whom are you eating, how to prepare the food, you know, how much to eat, whether to eat or not. Okay, knowing the basics about nutrition is very important. And even if we think we do not have nutrition problem, okay, right, let me go to the next slide. So this is, yeah, Prabhu. Okay. So nutrition is the study of food. These nutrients are, I mean, the other chemical components. So each food has got certain chemical components and their reaction and interaction in the body and their influence on health and disease. So what you have been eating, somebody gets into cancer or something because they have been eating out. So somebody gets the hepatitis. Why? Because their eating habit of eating out, the liver gets enlarged and then it gets affected. Sometimes they get liver cancer. All these becomes, the routine. It is not one day food or 2 days food. It takes long term food, which basically affects your complete health of the individual, right? So now, when the nutrition also means how your foods, liquids, and supplements get digested into the nutrients. So we will be seeing in this how the athletes can also. So generalized, I will just go. So the food has got the source of nutrients. Okay. So it depends upon the body, how you, and depend upon the disease that you're undergoing, whether you're going to absorb or it is going to disturb, or it depends upon what kind of, how much you eat. So if you don't eat properly, what happens is you choose to say drink a bad food, then it affects the link, the link of food link is called, and then it leads to diarrhea, it leads to vomiting, it leads to indigestion. So how well it got digested, if it is not digested, obviously it will link to some other side effects. So what happens is there are certain symptoms which comes out with fever, abnormal metabolism, or infection, and then what, that is what it is. So then it would lead to cholera, it could lead to hepatitis or jaundice or something like that. So that is where we have to be sorry, very careful with what we eat, basically. Just a moment. Okay. Right. So one moment. Right. So when we look into the food, what we eat, basically 1 kilocalorie basically contains how many? So if you see carbohydrate, if you take 1 spoon of say rice or some chapati, or you take something like that, how much of calorie it does yield is 4 kilocalories. So whenever you prepare the portion or the calorie of say 1200 calories, if you prepare a diet chart for me with 1500 kilocalorie per day, so how would you divide my food accordingly? So per gram of protein yields you 4 kilocalorie. Then per gram of fats would yield you 9 kilocalories. So just imagine, whenever you take fat, how less you should take, even less than the half of the carbohydrate. Right. So this is how you have to calculate. And today I will be touching upon more on the fats only for you all, and not on anything else. So this is the basic chart. You keep it in your mind when you prepare a diet for the sportsman, or for a general people. You just need to get on to this kind of thing, like how much of rice, how much of bread, and one katori, one medium cup of rice, how much it contains, 100 kilocalories. So 2 slices of bread contains. So you have to have this is a standard chart which is being prepared based on the Indian scenario, and what ice cream, what drinks, meat, how much of meat, anything in excess would lead to obviously excess of diet. So what are the nutrients? So these are the components of nutrients, and carbohydrate, protein, fat, vitamin, minerals, and water. So the water plays a very vital role when you prepare the nutrients of the for the athletes. So there are essential and non-essential nutrients. Essential nutrients, these are the nutrients which cannot be produced or can be brought about by our body. So when which is not produced by our body, we have to take the deficiency, whatever deficiency we come every day, so you have to compensate through your diet accordingly. And non-essential nutrients like fats, glucose, amino acid, all these are something which, even if you don't take, body has the mechanism to manufacture it of its own. So carbohydrate, I think you have first two chapter had carbohydrate and protein, but then you all know the sources of carbohydrate and the protein. So carbohydrate are basically of two types. When you prepare the diet chart, particularly for diabetes and for hypertension and for any kind of patients, you have to look into what type of carbohydrate are you adding. Are you adding simple carbohydrate, or you are adding complex carbohydrate. So simple carbohydrate is something where the blood sucks the nutrients immediately, so it becomes simple carbohydrate. And a complex carbohydrate is something where your body does not absorb. Body means blood does not absorb from your stomach immediately or instantly. So when you take, say, a jaggery or honey or something, the blood takes it and it's loads, it gets low. If you take too much of cool drinks, it will not be digested, only it will get into your blood vessels, blood, and blood will carry that sugar along with it, throughout till it is getting digested. That is why diabetes patients are instructed not to get onto direct the simple sugar, because this will not be digested. It need to require the insulin production, and which takes very slowly till it gets digested. The oxygen supply to the brain gets little ceased. You become lethargic, you become inactive. There is no tingling in the all kind of symptoms that basically starts with the diabetes patients. So what are the functions of carbohydrate? Which is basically providing energy and regulating blood glucose, sparing the use of protein. So there are people who go with paleo diet and all different types of diet. They don't eat anything else other than the protein. So that is very risky at the moment. There was a trend of this, but then it has become danger because kidney is getting loaded. And just to use protein sparingly, one have to get into carbohydrate use so that it can be taken together. When carbohydrate and protein are taken together, it converts into hemoglobin. So when you see our food of like idli, dhokla, pongal, bisibalabat, all that has got a combination of dal with rice. So it leads to production of a hemoglobin in the body, which carries oxygen to the blood, to the body, right? So working muscles, sorry. So it also helps in breakdown of fatty acids and preventing ketosis. Ketosis is where the protein will start leaking from the kidney or from the urine, and that is why you have to avoid taking too much of protein in your body. Anything taken in excess, you based on your height and weight, you have to take the protein. If you go in excess, it gets wasted. So there is a leakage of it takes place. And carbohydrate helps in biological recognition process. It gives a sweetening effect in your food. And then it also helps in the dietary fiber. Right. Sindhu. Fine. Pombod எடுத்துக்கோ. So the sources are basically, as I said, complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are the fruit, milk products, which takes time to break down and then release the energy, are all called as simple carbohydrate. And complex, it doesn't take time to get digested, it just gets into blood. And the complex is one which takes time to get digested, and slowly it will keep releasing energy. And say morning till afternoon, if you are in the examination hall, you will keep getting sufficient energy till for 3 hours. So that is why we go with such kind of thing. Don't encourage children or to sportsmen to have ice cream or candy or chocolates, just before their competition, which could lead to even energy for the breakdown of the food also. So what we call basically is the empty calories is all your hard drinks, and then the people basically say that it is good for health and that it will give shining in your body. So it has got no vitamin, no mineral. So that is why we call it as empty calorie. So or even no, there's no amino acid also in it. So empty calories are not very fulfilled by the lean hunger, or it will not take out your hunger or whatever it is. So you can avoid doing that. Taken in plenty could convert into carbohydrate and could lead to formation of fats in your body, and it gets deposited in your body, right? So the simple examples of your empty calories are your soft drinks, your sweetened foods, your Coca-Cola, your diet, and all diet cokes. So what they said basically, the diet coke, anything wherever there is artificial sweetener are more dangerous because it contains chemical in it. So avoid taking the cubes, sugar cubes, which is artificial in it, or the artificial sweeteners are very dangerous. So this is what has been advised. Taking a diet coke is more dangerous than taking an ordinary coke. So anything it is carbonated drink, so it has got carbon in it. Carbon means carcinogen effect is there, and it is aerated, so it increases air in your body and it takes you to the bulky, and it also demineralizes your bone, your teeth, and all that, and it is converted into calculus and stored in your gallbladder or in the kidney, and then it leads to danger. So what is protein? Protein basically is a Greek word which has come from proteinos, and which means the holding the first place. So anywhere in any hospital, when you look, even the mother's milk which comes out from the first baby which has been fed is called as the protein. So high amount of protein is there, and it has got amino acid in it, and which is very, that is why we call it, the meaning itself, the protein itself means holding the first place. So nothing stands other than the protein. So protein is described as a food component made of amino acid, and amino acids are formed by carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. You all know that. So functions of dietary is it is necessary for the structural integrity of cells and growth of body basically, and it helps in formation of enzymes, digestion juices, hemoglobin, and hormones are being protected by that. Even male hormones are all decided upon take amount of protein that you take. So it helps you to protect against and fight against any kind of infection. So even post-operative, post-pregnancy, after any surgery, people are given fed with the tablets or B complex or something of that, which can help you for a quick recovery, and the wound gets healed faster, and it also helps the mothers, lactating mothers, to be given. So tissue repairs takes place very fast and transports oxygen, nutrients, and drugs to the body. So two sources, animal source, you all know animal source, plant source. So plant sources are called as class 2 protein, and animal proteins are called class 1 protein. So if in army hospital, if some patient is being hospitalized, they will put them based on looking into the demand, whether they have to put into class 1 protein or class 2 protein. So class 1 protein is fed almost to all the patients in the army hospital, but then this patient would be exclusively fed with additional of egg or liver or what it is. So and this is where their diet goes with it. Fine. So but whereas in the common normal people, other than these people, we don't follow at all after the person falls into sick what diet has to be given. We just rely upon kanji or rasam sadam and all that, which is poor diet for the sick people to get onto it. All right. So protein basically deficiency could lead to some kind of low intake, or protein deficiency could affect into weakness, which could lead to anemia, which could lead to malnutrition, and then any delay in healing post operative or post wound or after the injury. The healing takes very slow, not faster. It takes its own time to get healed up, and it also decreases the resistance to infection because antibody. So formation is decreased. So even in the corona patients, they are providing egg even by the corporation, but because egg has got protein, and that is where it can help you to protect against the further infection it can fight. So this is the chapter that basically I'm going to prolong today, is the fats, and that was the introduction I had given to you about the protein and that. And I have also got some slides on vitamin minerals, which is not there in the portion. So I think that I am just leaving it. So fats are they are the there are several types of fats. Basically, you would have heard in the or seen on the top of the oil packet that comes to you, say Saffola or Gold Winner, or right, any kind of brand that is today in the market. So some of the advertisers even say that only we have in our oil vitamin A, E, D, and K. So irrespectively, almost all the fats have got the vitamin A, E, D, K. That is what we call it as water soluble and the fat soluble vitamins, which makes you to digest that. Right. So the fats which are made up of saturated, mono, unsaturated, polyunsaturated fatty acids. So when you look into the cover, say for example, you take one chips packet or Lay's chips packet, and you read that what are the contents which are there, ingredients that are there. So they will write down 0 calorie. What is that? So cool drinks have got 0 calorie in it, right? So how much of saturated fat is there? How much of monounsaturated fat is there? Or how much of polyunsaturated fatty acids are there? Sometimes they may try to fool us, because the packet would contain, say 500 grams, right? they'll give you a value for only 100 grams. Sometimes the packet would contain only 10 grams, like chips and all 50 grams, but they will give the value for 100 grams. So again, that is misleading. So you have to be very careful while you read how much of sodium is there, how much of fatty acids are there, how much of unsaturated fatty acids are there. So this will only help you to eat wisely, intelligently. So fatty acids are the organic building blocks of the fats and differs in amount of hydrogen. They differ. So contain. So saturated fatty acids basically contain, hydrogen and polyunsaturated fatty acids, and that is how each of these fats has a different effect on the body. So if you are using the fat made up of, say, buffalo, right? How what it is high. If you take milk of, say, cow, it differs. So that is where they give the blue color, green color, red color packet based on the fat contents in that. Because while the milk is on the processed milk, they try to extract the fats from that and they convert it into, they use it for some other purposes, for making butter and all that. All right. So difference between the dietary cholesterol and the fats in food. So this is where you have to look into that. Food with fat do not necessarily contain dietary cholesterol. Dietary cholesterol, a fat-like substance, is found only in animal products such as meat, dairy products, butter, egg yolks. It is not found in vegetables, or white of the egg, or plant foods like grains and fruits and vegetables. So it is not there. So two types of cholesterol: low density lipoprotein, high density lipoprotein. So low density lipoprotein, yesterday I had spoken to those people with, which is called as low bad cholesterol. High density HDL is good cholesterol. So LDL is basically associated with the increased risk of coronary heart disease. So whenever you eat food, you the fats in your body, it brings out LDL, low density lipoprotein. So when you have HDL, that is good, the high density lipoprotein, it will try to digest the bad cholesterol. So that is the fight they both of them will have. And then how you balance yourself. So balancing only through exercise is the only mean that I had been speaking yesterday. Of course, diet, what you eat, that makes you to saturate all that in your body, and it leads to increase in total cholesterol, and then the risk, the ratio of the cholesterol, all that keeps differing in the body. So functions of dietary fat is, it helps you to give essential fatty acid which is required by your body, and it also helps to absorb your fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, and it helps to maintain your healthy skin, regulating the cholesterol metabolism, and then it helps in prostate glands for men, and then hormone like substance that regulates some body processes, and helps the body use carbohydrate and protein more efficiently. So if I remember my mother, sometimes we all used to sit together, and first the rice used to serve, and being very naughty, sometimes I used to take one or two pieces, grains of this thing, white rice, and I used to keep it in my mom used to say, don't eat only rice, just wait. you know so if you take only chapati or dry chapati, or only bread, or only white rice, it cannot be that efficiently giving you energy. Why? Because carbohydrate has to merge itself with fats. So if you see your mother preparing rasam, adula talip irko, take curd rice, even that they will have the tadka or talip will be there. Anything, sambar, rasam, puriyal, without the tadka or without the oil, no food, even chutney, tenga chutney or coconut chutney or whatever that comes out, no food comes without the oil. So fat is very, very essential for what we're eating. If I'm taking only idli, I can take idli podi with oil. Then what happens? There is a combination of idli podi with oil and idli. Only idli with sugar, dirty. No, at least idli is fine. Otherwise, some of them will give or sugar rice, some kind of thing which doesn't have a combination. So be sensible, prepare the food very intelligently so that it gets absorbed in your body. So high cholesterol obviously gives an adverse effect and leads to coronary heart disease. That is, angina is basically called as the chest pain, and heart attack could occur, and it could lead to stroke also when the blood supply to the brain is reduced. And then you also find the peripheral vascular diseases where the ganglion is formed. the nerve cells are formed in your limbs and it starts killing, eating, you know, which would lead to destruction, and completely you have to go for amputation where the surgery has to be done and the limbs are being cut, and then it keeps spreading throughout the body. So now I have come to the portion where we have also fat cells are also one of the major sites of hormone metabolism. So if you see the hormone get metabolized, testosterone, the male hormone, just now I spoke to you, that is also being converted to estrogen in fat cells in both men and women. In fact, most of the estrogen in male and the post-menstrual women comes into the conversion of testosterone in fat cells, carrying more body fat for males means not only more estrogen but also less testosterone. So just imagine the body muscles will start losing and they'll become saggy. That's what it basically leads to, right? So there are many methods of assessing the fats in the body. So the complete third unit it is based on this fats, and this is where I'm going to today touch upon. So skin fold caliper basically is a kind of gadget. I didn't have time to take out the picture of it. Otherwise, you can Google and see the apparatus. So skin fold caliper is also available in all the physiology departments in almost all university and also in our college, where it helps you to measure the fats on your superficial skin. So you have to take the two fingers, just hold this and hold. So you can see how much of fats do I have. How much can I hold it? Is it fat? Is it thin? So if it is very thin, if I put the caliber into and measure it, it will be very, very, very minute. So here the fats in my body is less. If you take the fats on my, say, triceps, my biceps, or my stomach, or my iliac crest and the subscapularis, inner thigh, and lower abdomen. So these are the seven spots where the measurements are being taken for both men and women. And for women, you can also look for triceps area and then above the hip bone and I mean the thigh or abdomen. 3 side can also be taken or 7 side measurements can be taken. And there are in the book that I have basically written, it has got the norms which has been fixed. If you're going for the research, you can make use of those norms. Since I didn't have time to just bring it here, I've just left it. So what are the advantages of skin fold caliper? Are more affordable, very affordable, and measures can be taken quickly. They can be used at home, but at all, they are all portable, just like a scissor, light plastic. It will be, you can just hold it. So what is the disadvantage? Disadvantage is the method requires practice and basic anatomy knowledge you need to have. So if you don't have the anatomy knowledge, say for example, I tell you subscapularis, iliac crest, like that, there is certain terminology which you need to know. If that is not there, then the poor picture will be exhibited. And calipers are affordable and easy to purchase online. Accuracy is the skill of the person performing the skin folds can vary, impacting the accuracy. So there can be error, can range from 3.5 to 5% of body fat by using that skin fold caliper. Another method, second, is called as dual energy X-ray absorptiometry. In short form, we call it as DXA, is more accurate than many other methods of assessing body fat percentage. However, it is often unavailable to the general population. So in the hospitals or somewhere only you can see this, and fairly expensive and not feasible for regular testing. So if you go to the Google and see, how they're trying to show, it as a kind of box, person is made to sit on that. They try to close that box for 50 seconds. They have to sit inside, and it has been connected with the computer, and it calculates the amount of fats in your body. So the accuracy can vary widely based on your similarities to people used to develop the equation. The error can vary from 2.5 to 4.5% of body fat. Next is called as hydrostatic weighing machine. Hydro means water, where body is on the kind of round weighing machine is there. There will be a hook on it where they try to tie you from the top, and then you are immersed in the water, and then it gives you a kind of measurement in it. So hydrostatic weighing is typically only available in the universities in America, and where in India it has not become a very common usage of measuring the submerged body, So here also there are some accuracy when testing is performed perfectly. The error is there where 2% of body fat can differ. Another method is called as air displacement. So yeah, bot pod, bot pod, you can again Google a kind of round egg shaped kind of thing. I said here what it happens is does not allow the air around you. Say they make you to wear a kind of cap on top of your head, and then there is no uh, air which adds to your body weight. So that is where they try to put you into that, and this method is accurate and relatively quick, and is does not require being submerged in water or sometime. And the disadvantages, basically the bot pod is not available and very expensive. It is not available in India. Even in abroad, very expensive hospitals have got, and people who have got lots of money can just like a play, they just enter in and they can get onto that this ADP method of measuring in that particular university. So I just yesterday saw the video of it, how they are taking, and they close the person for 50 seconds, and they're put in the box kind of thing, like a egg it is, and they measure the fats in that particular body. This is called as electrical impedance myography. So EIM, which is injects the electrical current into the small body region. Portable device are placed directly on different body parts to estimate the body fat percent to those locations. So it might differ. Your location of the fats, say in my stomach, it would differ, in my triceps, it would differ, on my face, it would differ, in my neck region, it would differ. So they try to place it in that certain area, and they try to get the amount of fats in that particular area. And it is also expensive device used in medical and research settings only. And when you look into the accuracy or the error rate, it goes to 3.8 to 5%. So that is why whenever you try to fix it, in the statistics also, you can keep it as 85% or 95% of the accuracy is that is where we get into the accuracy of the test measurement or the test it goes with. Now this is another called as 3D body scanner. So 3D body scanner are relatively new method of assessing body fat percent. The method uses information about your body shape to predict your body fat percentage. More information is needed about this, about the accuracy, and this basically helps you to get the information more quickly and easily. And in 3D body scanners are not commonly available for gaining popularity. So basically people don't allow the radiation to get onto it, and sometimes the scanner when it's into, so very often getting onto that exposure would be little like X-ray. And then availability, when you look again, it is a great device, it is available, but they are not as affordable as simple circumstance measurement or inch tape or skin fold caliper or whatever it is. So again, here the error chances are 4% of body fat. So this is called as multi-compared model, and these are very accurate and considered the gold standard for body fat assessment. So just imagine just like a gold. However, they involve simple tests and are not typically available in general public. So it is more accurate. That's the advantage, and disadvantage is it's not available for the public use. Third is multi-compartment modeling is typically only available in selected hospitals and research centers. And to speak about, they are all available abroad and are not yet been come into common use even in India by the great physiologist, the one who have onto their master's degree or all that, the doctors, even they have not come into it. And if you see the error, it's only speaks about 1% of body fat. So uh, just imagine it is like a gold standard. You get an accurate, just like measuring gold. They won't put even a milligram also won't be excess. That's how. So another method is called as bioelectrical impedance analysis. This is a very common which you all would have come across, and work for sending small electrical currents through your body to see how easily they travel through your tissues. So many different devices are available through this to find out the results accuracy, and it is more quick and easy to measure. And disadvantages are, unlike your BIA, consumer grade or the gold device, it is not currently available, and it is again available more in the universities and research centers, and certain fitness facilities centers where they seek lots of money for their membership, right? The bioelectrical impedance analysis is more accurate than consumer grade, and BIA devices are more similar and give to error for 3 to 5% of error. So there is one more apparatus called as bioimpedance spectroscopy. Similar to BIA, BIS measures your body response to small electrical currents. However, bioimpedance spectroscopy uses more electrical current and processes the information differently. It is fairly accurate, but mostly used in the medical and the research centers. So that there are many methods of measuring the body fat in your body. Another one we basically use is the BMI, which goes with the, you all know that also you can add. You can also use the blood lipid test, where you try to get the HDL, LDL, triglyceride, total cholesterol. That could also be one of the methods of testing the fats in your body. And another method of identifying, whichever is the, that is waist and hip ratio. So you can take the measurement of the waistline and your hip line, whichever is both, and try to divide the waist divided by the hip region. What happens is you can get the either equal to or greater than 0.85. So that is the active, whatever 25, 26, 36 you put anything. So you need to be like a pear, not like an apple. So even that could speak about your how you look by your appearance. So what are the dangers of having low fat? So there are people who keep exercising, they don't even consume fats based on the demand, but then they don't want to get into any kind of cardiac problem. So if you look into our body, right from the brain to heart and lungs and tissue and all the organs of kidney, liver, everywhere there is fat. So without fat, our body is totally not well. And you have also seen the importance of fats in our body. So first thing that, you become prone to serious heart problem, even if the fats are less in your body, even then you are that also leads to the heart problem. So having an extremely low body fat percentage can affect the cardiovascular system's ability to function normally. So opens a new thing, like example, when bodybuilding prepared by competition by lowering the body fat. So what happens is the bodybuilders are basically based on their weight. So their measurement is taken before the competition, and accordingly they get into the competition in that particular category. So what these people do is they, before the competition or just, before a few months, they start getting into non-fat food and only rely on the protein food. So what happens is their heart rate gets dropped to 27 beats per minute. So too low heart rate, which is called as bradycardia, can lead to dizziness, passing out, the cardiac arrest. So some of the bodybuilders have died. I don't know how many of you have seen. There were a few WhatsApp messages. He was trying to lift the weight, beyond his capacity while lifting. On the spot, on the stage, the person dies. With the corpus lying there. So it is all because of this that the cardiac arrest takes place. Meanwhile, other electrolyte imbalances due to too low of body fat percentage. Some of them, they take some chemicals or some drinks which could also try to combust the body fat percentage in the body, and not to mention about the calorie intake can lead to cardiac arrhythmias. That is, the heartbeats of an individual will keep differing, okay, and sudden cardiac death can also take place. So many people have died, particularly, after the Olympics. I don't know how many of you are, whether you know or not. After the Olympics is done, and particularly the long distance running, there are nearly 100 or even more than 100 athletes die after the competition is over. So why? Because they keep running, and the fats in their body is also comparatively less. The training schedule, the dehydration, all that leads to the death of, and it all have gone to the cardiac death only. So this takes place. So next is the your energy level is plummet. So when you are fat depleted, so when the fats get depleted or gets lower below the requirement, you have no reserves in the body. So there are certain adipose tissues which reserves, mitochondria, all that, it tries to store some of the fats in your body. So you have to reserve energy stores, and your body can't perform at the optimal level due to the fact that it is starving of energy. The more you run, more you take, you don't take it all, and you see the skin and the dry, completely, full of wrinkles without the fats. So all these people are basically starving. You don't know about their lifestyle, what they are doing. And what is more, low level of body fats are also linked with the slow heart rates, which I have just now spoken to you, as well as drop in the thyroid hormone. So when the thyroid, either there is hypo or hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. So these people it leads to hypo or hyper, then either the body gets shrunk and they become more thinner and thinner. So hypothyroidism has got two reverse. So when it goes with the less or hypo, what happens is they become more fatter. When it goes with the hyper, then they become thinner. So the two adverse are there. And third is, you are suddenly always cold. When you don't have fat, the person is more prone to chillness. They get attacked by the cold very faster. So the fats play a role in helping your body maintain its temperature and also provide insulation or the heat to the body organs. And people with ultra low or too low of fats can complain of being cold all the time. So thyroid dysfunction, which can also spring up in the guys with too low fat percentage, could also dial up with the intense thermostat. That is, the temperature of the body gets too low, and then fever and all that, the other symptoms starts coming, right? So next is your body workout sucks. You cannot work out for more than 20 minutes if your body fat is very less. You can begin to run out with the carbs. So initially, when you see, a person starts warming up, what we basically say is carbohydrate is the one which instantly gives you energy for 2 minutes. After that, what happens is, in the supply of oxygen, the metabolism takes place, and the fat starts releasing to you the energy, right? So the turn to fat as an energy source gets depleted, and if you have too little fat available for energy, your athletic performance will suffer significantly, right? The next goes with your muscle does not recover from exercise. Even if you are able to get a good workout with your ultra thin figure, you will probably have a difficulty in getting much out of them. So that is because when your body fat percent is too low, so are your levels of glycogen, the stored carbohydrate in your muscles and liver. That glycogen is vital to help your body from exercise. So you should know all these processes, and how to prepare a diet for an individual has to be taken care by you. So you are constantly hungry. These people go totally dry, but they control themselves. They just don't. The more you live on chicken breast, right, and air, and then bitter pizza sounds, the dieting downs to low fat level, decreasing the circulating level of the leptin, a hormone produced by body fat cell. Leptin receptor in the hypothalamus sends this drop and increases appetite, so that you are hungry all the time. So all the time craving for something, 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 something. Why? That's why have a sufficient good amount of food for the lunch, breakfast, lunch, and then dinner, and then you go with it. When you starve, when you don't have fats in it, obviously it would lead to hungerness, right? So that is why thin people will keep eating, but still they will look thinner. And a fat person, who, even if he eats little, they become look more fatter. So your testosterone level drops. So this is the called as basically the male hormone, and also the female also have a little, in the absence of estrogen, the testosterone, as I said very recently, would increase. So low leptin hormone level can mean even lower testosterone level, and through the chain of signals, in the brain's hypothalamus and pituitary gland, low leptin levels tell your testicles to produce less testosterone. So you all know the gland testicles are there, from where the testosterones are being produced for the male hormone, which changes the voice, which builds your muscles, which brings hair growth in the body. So when the person doesn't have this, they will their face will not have hair at all. Male, they look more skinny without the hair on their face. But it becomes reverse on women, and it leads to more growth of hair on the face. When you look into the bust or breast, so the breast of a woman decreases, whereas the breast of the or the chest of the male increases if they are onto the artificial protein or all that. That's the thing which makes the difference. And then the testicles becomes more smaller for the all the bodybuilders, and they are not in a position to produce the leptin, so they rely upon the artificial protein in their body, right? So what happens is your body muscles becomes weaker, obviously, and then your sperm count, that also decreases, and one becomes impotent. They're not in a position to beget or give birth to the child, and they are not ready for the marriage, and the sperm counts decreases, and too low leptin and testosterone levels can result in hypogonadotrophy. Hypogonadotrophy is a hormone, and which helps in the reproduction or the formation of the sperm in the males. To get sick a lot, so those people will become more sicker. Extremely low fat body and energy intake is associated with higher cortisol level. So cortisol level is also a hormone which decreases while you sleep, and it activates, it becomes more vital after you sleep and you come on, you keep performing, it becomes, it activates. So the more the cortisol is there, your performance will also be there. So what happens is this cortisol also decreases, and then you become more prone to infection, bacteria, cold, flu, and virus, and all that basically comes on that. Okay, so with this, I complete this unit. May I now ask question to the students? Yeah, you can now come out with the questions. Anybody? Subhashini. Can I have Subhashini? Yes, tell me, Subhashini. How did you? Unmute. Could you get what I had been?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Who is the other one who is doing with you?
Sweta.
Myself, Shweta, ma'am.
Shweta Nagarajan. Tell me, how did you get any knowledge? What is the essential of fats in the
Yeah,
for the
ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. I'm basically a nutritionist. So, I'm MSc Clinical Nutrition.
wow. Could
So, I,
you get something extra than what you had
yeah,
been knowing
definitely.
earlier? Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Definitely about these protein things and what are the adverse effects, and these are things which is newly known for me.
Okay. Very good. So now we shall now shift on, and all my other students of P. Sadish, Urmila. Okay. Right.
Ma'am, one
Urmila.
doubt, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were talking about low fat effects in the body.
Mm.
So when we are assessing planning for nutrition for a person who's having more fat, so what should be our target, or how do we go with it? How do we know that it is normal or very low based
See,
on clinical values?
there are so many tests which we have been doing. I have taught you what are the different tests
Yes.
that you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
perform, and then you can treat them accordingly. Yesterday we have been talking about the exercises to reduce the weight, right? And what kind of diet you need to give us. You can plan the diet accordingly based on the test results. So now if you look at me, like I might look skinny, right? So when you take my blood pressure, I may have, I do have high of HDL in my body. So doctor gives an underline on my thing, it stands 60. So beyond 60, the pathologist cannot measure how much of HDL do I have, more than 60 or not. So what is the range is cannot be, they just put a underline dark in that. So if a person is having high LDL, and then they are also with the comorbidity like diabetes or hypertension, all that has to be diagnosed, and accordingly the food has to be given. So people who are suffering from heart attack are having more of fats. So based on the results, you have to work accordingly. And all those whose results have shown lower, I have given you for the athletes how you're going to help with that, right? This is what is called as exercise and weight management. You have to go with that. Yes, Urmila.
Yes, ma'am.
Venkat. Maria Alphonse have come today. Pesingla, Maria Alphonse, Pondicherry. Alphonse?
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, good morning. Where were you last classes you did not attend?
Ma'am, actually, I am a fitness and welfare management, ma'am. Actually, I am.
Okay, could you gain some knowledge out of it?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. That's why,
See,
ma'am. I just
all
came to
your
attend.
question, yeah, very good. So all three of you, 3 groups have joined and 4 groups have joined. See, it is good that I'll thank Felix sir that he has brought all of you here, because it is going to help you indirectly or directly somewhere to answer your questions, and you can gain more knowledge. Okay, just think
Yeah,
that it
ma'am.
is a kind of webinar you're undergoing under me, right? Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We'll shift on to the next.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Right. So now we shall get on to the fluids and the nutrition for exercise. So you all know that fluid is something which is where the body of an individual, 70% of the body basically contains water in it. And when we see the muscles or fats and all that, accordingly, when you try to measure, the fluid intake or replacement of fluid in the body plays a very vital role for an individual to exercise. When you saw the components of the nutrients, you could see water as part of the main thing place. So let me go with the syllabus that has been mentioned out here. That is osmolality. Osmolality, which means that it is added to the solution of electrolyte, sugar, vitamins, minerals, etc. So more variants that are added into a solution. The thicker it is concentrated, like maza or something of that, people try to drink, say Red Bull and all that. So let me not, sometimes you don't take it very seriously that ma'am is freaking out some of the names of the brands, right? Don't get too offended with that. So the thicker it is concentrated becomes, and it's slower it is absorbed. So I remember one particular day where I was studying in college probably. So there was a function in my house, and maza was very common at home. So there was a jug of maza which was left out, and it has got so much of sugar in it. You all know the chemicals that are there in it. Also, excuse me. Right. So, and it was chill. It was chill, and then I took that jug and then I drank that. Believe for I was very innocent at that time, and for quite long, I didn't feel hungry at all. I was feeling so full, and I never realized that. Okay. So basically, the science says that when you take a chill food, a chill drink, or ice cream, or soft drinks, or whatever it is, when it gets into your body, it takes time for it, first of all, to convert it into your body temperature. So if you have 98.7 degree in your body, the water that you are taking or ice cream you're taking to 0 degree to 5 degree, whatever you try to gulp it inside, or you take it directly, what happens is it sits in your stomach. It takes time to get converted to temperature. And then if the fluid is full of sugar or the chemicals, it takes more, it gets makes your liver to get loaded. It allows your insulin or islets of the Langer's, that gets loaded, and all that, it takes time for the production to make you digest that, right? So osmolality is a measurement of a fluid concentration, which is represented by the number of salts per volume of fluid. So they say that this is a sharbat. You have to take this amount of it, pour it in this many liters of water, and then mix it. Fine. This is where they stand for it, right? If you add anything in excess, the body takes time for it to get absorbed, and the body fluid is approximately 250 em, or that is what is the unit of measurement per liter, which is being given. So hypertonic solution have an osmolality higher than the body. So we call it from higher concentration to the lower concentration. You would have seen that example, a potato with the high sugar, when it is dissolved and kept in the potato, it takes time for the potato to absorb the water content from it. Whereas if you keep the potato without the sugar salt in it, the water gets absorbed by it. This is what is called as osmolality in our body. So isotonic solutions have an osmolality similar to the body of which is equal to 290 MOS mole per liter, and hypotonic solution is something. So there are three types of solutions, let me tell you. One is called as hypertonic solution, second is called as isotonic solution, third is called as hypotonic solution. So hypo, these are the two, which is lesser. Hypo is lesser, hyper is high, isotonic goes with the balance. So that is why you can see the symbol of greater than 300, lesser than 280, equal to 290. So this is where you have to identify the three types of osmolality. And what are the sports drinks? Basically, the sports drinks are functional drinking, specifically designed to help athletes and other active people hydrate before, during, and after the exercise. So hydration doesn't mean that you take a bath and make your skin like that. So you have to take some amount of water or some kind of liquid, so that your body, the sweat, through sweat, all your chemicals, your sodium, your nitrate, all that, basically is being excreted from the body, and it could lead to cramp, it could lead to even a heart attack, it could also lead to any kind of problem, basically. So dehydration is a worst situation where you would have also seen children. I'll speak to you about it in my latest slide, how you have to even go with the normal people also. So dehydration, when it takes place, you have to get into rehydration, that is again hydrate them. So rehydration is the major requirement during exercise, as performance depletes rapidly, even low levels of hydration also. So minerals such as sodium, potassium are all frequently added to replace those lost through sweat. Replacing electrolytes lost during exercise promotes proper rehydration, which is important in delaying the onset of fatigue. So we basically, in sportsmen, we try to give water bottles, say for a footballer, in a corner near inside the field on one side. So before you start feeling thirsty, we ask them, you sip, don't gulp, bottle of it, that will lead to a stitch on your stomach, which could also lead to pain over there. So what you need to do is, you can take the water, not chilled one, it should be your body temperature, or it could be warm, not a chilled one. Take it, sip it, so that your respiratory passage or your throat gets wet. So we say that before you start feeling thirsty, you take gulp little. Okay, so once your body starts feeling thirsty, you cannot compensate that, and then obviously the person cannot perform during the competition. So sports drinks can help replenish electrolytes lost during exercise, and because they contain sugar, they can also give you a boost of energy to help you get through the workout. So I think there are two nutritionists are here. So a person, say for example, diabetes person, when he gets into coma, and there is a depletion in the sugar level in the body while they're exercising and also on medication, what happens, a stage comes where the sugar level goes very low. So that is why we prescribe those people to have a pocket, one chocolate or some sugar in their pocket anytime. So the moment they feel little giddy or something, they can have something in between to compensate the depleted sugar level. So if a person has fainted also, you have to open the mouth, add the sugar in the water and try to give drops of it, so that it enters into the blood. And I have seen people, getting up immediately and also sitting after they get into the either they faint or something of that, symptoms when it comes in them. So you have to be very vigilant what they are doing, and you can help them to come to the normal also. So that is why, but that does not mean that you need to gulp them down before and after the each exercise. So that is what I'm telling you. You have to be very careful in giving that. So there are three types of sports drinks, which basically contains various levels of fluid, of electrolytes and the carbohydrate, and that is what I have just mentioned. That is hypotonic, designed to quickly replace. So hypotonic is a thing which you take it, you get so if you see Sania Mirza playing tennis, they will just sit with the towel and this and that, and their bottle will, they'll just take one or few drops of it and they'll place it there, right? So because they have to go for it, they have to go for a, say, boxer or wrestler, they have to go for a bout. So you have to give them just few sips of it, and which can quickly replace the fluid loss during the exercise. And hypotonic drinks have very low carbohydrate contents and a higher concentration of salt and sugar in them. So if you see, the WHO has given those, powder of ORS, which is given, and it contains basically the salt and the sugar powder. You have to take 2 pinch of it, add it in the water, and then give. The child becomes okay. So you have to give them frequently. How frequently? You can start with few ml of it, and I think if I have it in my later slide, I can show you. Otherwise, you cannot make them to gulp. You have to give them with few milliliters of it in the spoon, and then slowly it has to be gulped inside for the children who are or any adult or anybody who gets into that. So isotonic is something, the drink contains similar concentration of the salt and sugar as in human body, and they are designed to quickly replace fluid loss during exercise, but with an increase in carbohydrate. That is isotonic, with the increase in carbohydrate. So hypertonic, right? So hyper, when there is a excess of it in the body, what happens? These are designed to supplement the body's daily carbohydrate intake. They contain high level of carbohydrates in order to provide maximum energy uptake. That's all. So if you want to have good amount of energy, and there are best drug after the exercise, as it is important to replace glycogen level quickly after the exercise. So if you have a competition after, say, 3 hours, you can have such kind of hypertonic one, which contains a carbohydrate, which will give you energy for basketballers, for footballers. You can give, and they are a lower concentration of salt and sugar than human body. There are very few of these currently in the market. So there are many things which is catching the market, and then after some, without even the research, it is being provided to our athletes sometimes, and foreigners have got they provide to their Olympians or something of that, with after big research only. And in Russia and all, after taking all these drinks, they may perform, and it was a stage in 1980s, those Russians used to win all the medals in Olympics, and that was so shocking that Russia, and which used to be followed by America, and then China was not part of the Olympics at that time. Okay, only later they have joined the Olympics. So if you see the tally, and today if you go to that country and see all those people who had won medals for the country are not living their common ordinary life because of all these kinds of chemical containing substances they keep taking, and they perform well, they win the medal, right? But what happens in their life? They lose their life. They are kept in somewhere in refugee centers, just like army people without the limbs, without their some kind of, they're all handicapped army people in India. They're all kept in various places. Similarly, these athletes are also taken care by the government of those countries. So anything in adverse is really very dangerous. And when you get into the hydration, basically the adults, they feel extremely thirsty, less frequent urination, dark colored urine, fatigue, dizziness, confusion. So these are the symptoms that dehydrated adult feels. And what are the symptoms is thirst. It is not always a reliable early indicator. So once if a player or an adult or a child, they feel thirsty, that is not a actual indicator that the need of the water. Many people, particularly older adults, don't feel thirsty until they are already dehydrated. That is why it is important to increase water intake during hot weather or when you are ill. The signs and the symptoms may differ by age. So if you want to test whether they are dehydrated or not, make them to lie down on the table. Just take the stomach and hold the stomach and pull it up. Okay, so when you pull it up and then leave it, if the skin immediately goes and falls on the layer, that means they are not dehydrated. But if it is takes its own time for the skin, like you lift it like this and you leave it, it has gone back, right? For those dehydrated people, sorry, if you lift it like this and you drop it, it will be like a balloon, and it will take its own time for the skin to get into its stomach and get stuck to it. So that is how you can diagnose sometimes those people, whether they are dehydrated or not. And then the infants or the young child, they get dry mouth and tongue, and no tears with when they cry, no wet diapers, or for even for 3 hours they don't urinate, and then eyes are shrunk, cheeks are very red, and then they find the skulls are protruded, and irritability is more common in those people. Right, what could be the causes? So sometimes dehydration occurs for simple reason. You don't drink enough because of the sickness or busy, or work spot, or you're traveling, or playing, all that, hiking, camping, all these places, basically it goes with that. Other dehydration causes includes diarrhea, vomiting, severe or acute diarrhea. That is the time that suddenly and in that is violently you get into that, and can cause a tremendous loss of water and electrolytes in a shot. That is why this anorexia nervosa, and then bulimia, anorexia, bulimia, all these people, when they bulimia particularly, they eat and they vomit. What happens is they are also bringing out their body fluid, and very often out, and it also hurts the head. I don't know whether I have it in my PPT, and those ones, I think it is there in your syllabus, what are the eating disorders. Anyhow, we'll get on the next, since we are running short of time. And then fever is one which leads to the another symptoms, and higher your fever, the more dehydrated you may become. The problem worsens if you have a fever in addition to diarrhea and vomiting, very, very worst. And excessive sweating, you lose water when you sweat. So if you do vigorous activity and don't replace fluid as you go along, you can become dehydrated. So hot, humid, particularly north region, they die immediately. They say a kind of wind comes, it traps them, and the water from the body is totally absorbed, and they get fever and they die. And every year, when you see the census, people due to Lu, in Hindi we call it as Lu, a warm wind hits them, and it affects their body. So people die because of that also. And then what are the other symptoms? Is excess sweating, then increased urination. This may be due to undiagnosed or uncomfortable diabetes, people who frequently urinate, and certain medications such as diuretics. Like there are so many people who have got edema in their feet, particularly old age people. So doctors will give them diuretics, which will make them to dehydrate the water content from the feet, so very often getting onto that, would lead to that. And even the bodybuilders or wrestlers, who all go with the weight category for featherweight, lightweight, in certain categories, so as to reduce their body weight, they go for diuretic tablets, just before they're weighing. That it leads to too much of urination, and the water from the body basically comes out. And some blood pressure medication can also lead to dehydration, generally because they cause you for more urination. So what are the risk factors when they get into dehydration? Anyone can become dehydrated, but certain people are at greater risk, who infant and children are more likely to get into that, and higher fever can basically burn them. And older adults also feel the mortality rate goes high. As you get age, your body's fluid reserve becomes smaller, and your ability to conserve water is reduced, and your thirst sense becomes lesser. So the organs become lesser, and these problems are compounded by a chronic illness such as diabetes and dementia, or due to certain medication also. And other adults also may have morbidity problem that limits their ability to obtain water for themselves. Then people with more chronic illness, they also are more to it, just like kidney disease also increases the risk, and then diabetes, of course, I've been speaking, and as do medication, as the medication that increase urination. Even having a cold or sore throat makes you more susceptible to dehydration, because you are less likely to feel like eating or drinking when you are sick. So a person who is sick, they'll keep lying. That is why you can also ask them to go with little of warm water, which they can start drinking. So such people have to be taken care of. And people who work or exercise outside, particularly in the hot weather, or we call it as too much of sauna bath, very often every day, morning, evening, in 5-star hotels or 7-star hotel, they go for it, and they want to look at their body. I have seen literally, before I enter into sauna, I weighed myself, and then I went into sauna, and then I sweated so much, even by applying cream. And then when I came and weighed myself, I lost 2 kgs of it. Then after that, I used to drink some water. The moment I used to drink water, everything used to get balanced. So again, I'm back to my shape. So people in 5-star hotel, they just try to sometimes fool, and if they don't drink water, it will lead to severe illness. So what are the preventive steps basically is? So how can you prevent? To prevent dehydration, drink plenty of fluids and eat food high in water, like watermelon, kakadi or valerica, all those kind of fruits, vegetables, which has got good amount of water content in it. Those can be taken, and then fruits like orange, lemon juice, and all that can be taken. So letting trust is be your guide is an inadequate daily guidelines for your most healthy people. So if you are feeling thirsty, there are many things which speaks about, right? Whether your body is dehydrated or you are getting onto the symptoms of diabetes. So two things which you have to identify accordingly, and the treatment is, the only effective treatment for dehydration is to replace loss of fluid and the loss of electrolytes. The best approach to dehydration treatment depends upon the age, severity of the dehydration. Start with about 2 spoons, right? With a teaspoon of 5 milliliter every 1 to 5 minutes you have to give. You cannot blow them, gulp, 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 and you can't drink and just sit like that and then go with it. No, you have to just give, as I said, with the spoon, and then keep feeding them through the spoon, and then increase as tolerated. It may be easier to use a syringe for very young children, okay? And without the needle, you can just try to inject, just like pups or little animals we try to inject, without having the syringe, needle in it. So older children can be given diluted sports drinks. Use 1 part sports drink to 1 part of water. Just don't give them acidity. You have to dilute that and then give accordingly. Children and adults who are severe dehydrated should be treated by emergency. Personal arriving of the ambulance can be taken, and you can put them into the intravenous or drips can be given to them. And based on the age, if they're diabetes, you have to give them the solution accordingly. If they're normal, with the sugar content in it, and it can help you to for quick absorption and also for speedy recovery. So what are the pre-exercise nutrition which is required in the 3 hour before your workout? You want to eat something that helps you, can help you for sustaining energy. It can boost your performance. It can hydrate you, preserve your muscle mass, and speedy recovery. So if you're going to go for protein before exercise, it helps to maintain and even increase your muscle size. It reduces your markers of the muscle damage, that is myoglobin. Myoglobin is the protein which is stored in your muscles, and then creatine kinases and the myofibril protein degradation. And then you can also flood your bloodstream with amino acid when it is most required. So carbs before exercises is eating a fuels your training and helps you with recovery. It is a popular misconception that you only need carbs if you are engaging in a long or more than 2 hours. So here we try to give them big banana, or the plantains are basically being given for people with that, and for the endurance people who are going to engage in the endurance exercise like playing football or basketball, all those people. In reality, carbs can also enhance short-term 1 hour high-intensity training. So unless you are just going for a quiet stroll, ensuring that you have some carbs in your system will improve your high-intensity performance. So you need to have carbs. You can have banana. You can have some breads, which can be easily digested, and 1 hour before, and it preserves your muscle and the liver glycogen. It tells your brain that you are well fed, and helps increase your muscle retention and the growth. And it also helps in insulate the release of insulin when combined with protein. This improves the protein synthesis and prevents protein breakdown. Another reason why a mixed meal is a great idea: no sugary carbs drinks is basically required. So you have to be very careful when you go with the sugary items. So what are the fats you can take before the exercise? Don't appear to improve your basically diminish sports performance, and they don't seem to be a fuel performance also. So just like carbohydrate, protein will not help, fats will not help you to release or give you more of energy. So it helps you to help slow digestion, which maintains your blood sugar and insulin level and keeps you on an even keel, right? So provides some vitamins and minerals, and they are important in everyone's diet. So that is what I've been telling. Without fats, if you take bread without butter, it's waste. If you take and similarly, if you take protein without vitamin C, it will not be absorbed. If you take carbs with protein, it will convert into hemoglobin. So if you take iron with vitamin D, only then it will be absorbed. If you take protein with, so there are even the tablets which comes in combination so that the body absorbs from your body. So what are the pre-exercise nutrition in practice? You can take 2 to 3 hours before exercise, and which can enhance your workout, and have a mixed meal and a low calorie beverage like water. So you can have a mixed meal, 2 pounds of, like, you can have some protein dense food, some of the vegetables you can have. You can have a cup of handful of carb dense fruits could be added, and a few 1 or 2 thumbs of fats, like products you can add in your food. So just 0 to 60 minutes, that is 1 hour before your training, what you can take is, rather than eating a large meal, 2 to 3 hours before your exercise, some people like to eat smaller meal closer to the session. So this is very, very essential for those people to work or do a very good workout or take part in the competition as well. And the only issue with that is the closer you get to your workout, the less time there is to digest. So that is why we generally recommend something liquid at that time, like a shake or some kind of smoothie things along with little of water could be added to your body. And you can also have you might also look for 1 scoop of protein powder if it is veggie, not synthetic one, right? So if it's pure, it's well and good. So 1 fist of veggies like spinach or something can be taken, which is not highly cooked or not par cooked also. It's finely cooked. And 1 to 2 cups of a handful of carbs like a banana or bread or chapati can be taken. And you can also have some nuts, flakes that can be taken. And you can take unsweetened almond milk can also be boosted to your body. So during exercise, you need to work out well. You need to maintain your energy level. You have to maintain your body hydrated. So you have to look for, you need to stay hydrated. You need to provide immediate fuel, boost your performance, preserve your muscles. They should not go tired, and improve your recovery period. The moment you kick the ball and then you wait there and you do, and you must again recover. The moment you look at the ball again, you must become active. So that kind of way you need to provide yourself with the nutrition. And then post exercise, you again, your food depends upon your what you eat, that helps you to recover faster, to go with the rehydration. Okay. Then refuel yourself, and then build your muscle mass, and then improve your future performance. That is for tomorrow's workout. You need to go with it, right? So with this, I go with it. So the next in your syllabus comes as your diabetes and all that hypertension and all that health related diseases are there. So Basically, diabetes is also called as a hypokinetic. Hypo means less, kinetic means motion. So any disease that is arise in your body due to lack of activity is called as a hypokinetic disease, and diabetes is one of those ones which basically affect, and it is also genetic. And another researcher said that you can also break the genes if it has been through physical exercise. So
Jyoti ma'am,
yes.
sorry ma'am, your screen is not visible.
Oh. Madam, is it shown, ma'am?
It's okay. Now it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. So what is diabetes? Basically, these nutritionists must be knowing it, and all of you must be knowing. I've been speaking very high about it since yesterday. So it is commonly known as sugar diabetes, and it was in the lab. Somebody happened to test the urine of the diabetes patient, and when they tasted the urine, the urine was sweet. So since then, it has become mellitus. Mellitus means sweet urine. So diabetes mellitus is the terminology which came into, but in common colloquial language, when we speak, we don't call it as diabetes mellitus. We only say diabetes, right? So it is a disease in which the body either does not produce enough insulin or unable to use. So we also call it as a disorder. Rather than a disease, we call it as a disorder. And this is also called as metabolic disorder, where your insulin from your pancreas they are not ability of digesting the sugar from the food that you're taking or carbs that you're taking. So insulin is an hormone produced in the pancreas that helps the body to convert the glucose into energy. So if you don't have insulin production in the body and you have taken lots of sugar in it, what will happen is it will float in the blood for longer duration, and it will lead to all the other symptoms that we basically will be seeing. So when you look into the diabetes, there are two types of diabetes, type 1, type 2. You all must be knowing, but in short, I will just give you in a spell. The type 1 diabetes goes with the person who, before the puberty age. Today, if you go to the hospital and see, there are children who are not allowed to get into their mother's milk, because the mother's milk has got glucose in it. So the children are abstained from giving or feeding mother's milk because they're born with the diabetes today. And some of the children attain after few years, and they don't even come to know that they're suffering from type 1 diabetes. And I've come across two people, and till the end they have been suffering, and after almost 2 months they realize that the child is suffering from type 1 diabetes. So these people have to depend upon insulin, thus they are called as insulin dependent diabetes, right? So type 1, type 2 diabetes are onset of the adulthood or old age, or due to inability to produce the insulin, right? So they don't have to rely upon the insulin units to be taken into their body. So pre-diabetes is something that before they get into the diabetics, actual diabetes, and you get the symptom, and if you can make it, kill that gene, the chances of getting or onset of the actual type 2 diabetes can be either pushed off, or you can even kill that. Right. So next is the gestational diabetes. It goes with the pregnant women, and after they get into their pregnancy, some of the women, due to total sedentary life, and because of their poor dietary habits, could lead to gestational diabetes. Basically, I have been working with these people in Dr. E.V. Kalyani Medical Center under Dr. Geeta Arjun, and that was my area of research. And Dr. Mohan, MV Diabetes, was the one to help me to come out with the planning with the gestational diabetic patients. So he was ready to give me those patients. So what happens is, particularly the women who came from Saudi Arabia, our center is too big and all rich cooks will come there for the exercises. And what I have come across is all those women who traveled from Saudi, a pregnant lady, and came to me for the exercises, they were all undergoing gestational diabetes, and sometimes some of them were dependent on insulin, some of them were not dependent upon the insulin. So after the exercise, what we found was the intake of the unit of the insulin got decreased, and some of them who were diabetic did not could control their diabetes due to exercise. So exercise is the one which basically helps everyone to get cope up with this. So the current criteria basically is the fasting blood glucose when it is more than 125. But the precaution, you have to be very precarious the moment you find that the blood sugar comes around 115 to 120 mg per dilation. So you have the blood, you keep dilating it for so many times, and you try to see there's a trace of it. That is where we say that 115, 120, 126. This is very this is how the test is being done by the pathologist, and they give you a thing. So the moment you will find that this 115 to 120, one have to become very, very careful, because they are onset to the of the diabetes. So pre-diabetics, that is where we get into that, and the pre, it is before the actual diabetes. Let me push it off. And for those people, you can find that the fasting comes to 126 mg per dilation, and after 2 hours of the food, it comes to 140 to 200 mg per dilation. So those people are into pre-diabetics. And what are the complications? Again, they are risk factors. We have been yesterday discussing about all that. And for the diabetes patient, heart diseases are more prone: heart attack, stroke, hypertension, then blindness, and kidney failure, nervous system failure, or amputation where the ganglion is formed and they need to go for surgery, and doctor keep cutting their thumb, then fingers, then ankle, and then till the knee, and then it goes up, 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 and then amputation keeps increasing. And then the dental disease, that is why orthodontists are more common today for all the diabetes patients. They have to, or adult people or geriatric people have to be very often taken for the dental checkup to identify is there any infection or bleeding in their teeth. So basically it is a non-communicable disease, but genetically it can be transferred from the parent to the offspring. And sometimes and the cause for type 1 diabetes is not been still now identified, but there are certain research which speaks about I'll tell you in my latest slide. Right, for type 2 it could be the heavy weight, obesity, excess use of sugar or sweets, trying to load the pancreas to digest the food. So very often, even if a machine is being loaded, obviously the machine will get tired. So the symptoms is a frequent urination, excessive thirst, excessive hunger, and the first symptom that you have to identify, that they'll go with the severe loss of body weight. You must identify, why are you going so thin? What's the reason? If you have been maintaining is well and good. If a fat person, they'll actually put on weight, and then drastically when you see, all of a sudden they'll start reducing their body weight, and that is one of the symptoms that speaks about that that they could be prone to, or they are suffering from type 2 diabetes and or diabetes. So the presence of glucose in the urine, as I said, it could be. So basically, too much of thirsty in the brain keeps triggering you. You are feeling thirsty, you are feeling hungry, your heart rate is going higher. And then once you feel hungry, you get on to eating, you feel thirsty, you keep drinking, and then what happens is it could also lead to slow breathing. And then what happens is, slowly, if you see the blood pressure increases, and then you can get into the lack of insulin because of hunger. It leads to that, and then high blood glucose leads to muscle loss of protein, weight loss takes place, and then the moment the loss of fat starts going, it becomes, you lose the fatty acid, ketones takes place, and then acetonia takes place, and obviously the person becomes thinner, and then the symptoms starts aggravating. Then they go even tired, they keep sleeping, they don't have proper vision, and they can't see properly. The numbness or tingling in the lower legs or feet or foot, they keep scratching, they keep some kind of some ant is moving around, that kind of feeling would come in them. And then slow healing, any kind of injury, a small sore, a small nail cutter, small pricking in the end of their fingers or in the feet, it becomes more slow healing process. Pus formation takes place, and then abnormally high frequency of infection. So they are very prone to small infection which goes with it, right? So So most susceptible is usually onset of the childhood, early teenage years of genetic predisposition. So another causes could be like, they say that if the measles for the children, MMR, if it attacks them, and sometimes that could also affect the pancreas and makes it inability to excrete or to bring out or to produce insulin. It damages that particular organ. So that is what could be the type 1 diabetes, and still the vision is not being attained. And after suppose their child, they're getting onto their puberty becomes delayed, and then slowly as they are onto the insulin, slowly the kidney and other organs starts getting affected. If the person today in India, the insulin which is being sold, it is not from the snake's poison which is directly given to us. The what that is being sold in the market are all synthetic ones, and um, that obviously brings changes in the body and affects the organs. All the pure ones, insulins are being exported abroad, and all those saints and sheikhs, all those who have money, they take the actual one which has been taken from the poison of the snake, basically. So people who are above 50 to 60 years, they are have the chance of getting type 2 diabetes, provided they are not, if they're not exercising, they're sedentary, and all other causes that I've been discussing since yesterday. It is basically linked to obesity. So juvenile diabetes, they're onto the insulin dependent diabetes, right? So before the teenage, young adults, right? So when the form with this form of diabetes, the beta cells of the pancreas no longer make insulin because the body's immune system has attacked and destroyed them. So treatment for type 1 diabetes basically requires that includes taking insulin every day. They have to depend upon insulin, and they have to be injected either on the thigh or the stomach or the hand, wherever the child is trained to inject insulin into their body every day. Without the intake of the insulin, they cannot spend their day, they can't eat anything basically, and they have to make a very wise choice on their food, and being physically active is one of the thing. And they are made to take aspirin daily, and to control, which can help them to control the blood pressure and the cholesterol. So aspirin is very widely used by those people. Right. So type 1 diabetes is a chronic one disease, and that occurs when the pancreas does not produce, as I said. So patients are diagnosed before 20 years of their age. The reasons are not known totally, and genetic viruses, some could be, it could be autoimmune problem, may play a very vital role. So symptoms you have been speaking, and type 2 diabetes, adulthood, old age, above 50 years or 40 years. Today, even 30 years, IT people are suffering from type 2 diabetes, and then only after getting into the problem, they start exercising. So that is what takes place, and people can develop type 2 at any age, even during the childhood also they can become. So this is what has been said, and this form of diabetes usually begins with insulin resistance and condition with fat, muscle, and the liver cell do not use insulin properly. That is where it starts. The treatment includes using diabetes medicine, making wise food choice, being physically active, taking aspirin daily, and controlling blood pressure and cholesterol can help them to control their type 2 diabetes. So exams and the tests, you can go for urine analysis, you can go for fasting blood sugar, go for random blood sugar, which should not exceed more than 200 mg per dilation, and this fasting blood sugar 126 mg per dilation or higher, and then insulin test can be taken and could be taken. So how do you need to do? You have to monitor your blood glucose. You can have the monitor at home, and you can have the strip and can test it. Sometimes where there are certain injections which have come, you can just put like a pencil, a pen, ball pen, you can just inject it on your fingertip. You get the blood, you have the strip, you can measure it, how much of sugar you have. So that has to be maintained, and then daily insulin injection can be taken, and the weight loss has to be adhered, and then alternative medicines can be taken, right? So how our body use insulin and glucose, this is a normal functioning. Insulin is a key to letting the glucose enter the cell. Glucose in the cell is transformed into energy for a body, that we all know. So what happens in type 1 diabetes is the pancreas is not in a position to produce insulin, therefore the glucose is not able to enter the cell. So this is what happens in them, and glucose basically depends, every cell depends upon the energy, and one of the energy is only that. Right. Next is the type 2 diabetes. The pancreas still produce insulin, but not enough to help adequate amount of glucose into the cell. Meal has to be taken, proper glucose monitor should be done, and then you have to educate them. So in my mess, I have a marker who was earlier working as a cook in the mess women's hostel, and he never knew what is the actual problem. He had been taking lots of sweets that used to be prepared in the mess, and invariably had been taking, and in a very 28 years age, he started suffering from diabetes, and he was so fat in the working in the mess, and all of a sudden this marker became very thin. So when asked why you have become like this, he said, I'm suffering from diabetes. So we need to educate. If you see a farmer, every day he gets into the farm and he'll take tender coconut, and tender coconut is something which has got lots of glucose, and if it is not taken digested, it should be a compensatory, or it can be in a supplementary, not supplementary, it can be compensatory. If you're not taking any food, you can go with the tender coconut. That is what I have identified, and I have seen so many farmers in the village suffering from diabetes without even having the, any good food or high food. Earlier days, diabetes used to be called as a rich man's disease, because they used to eat a lot, lots of this, that, but today it has reached the poor to poor, and the poorest man also has started suffering from diabetes. And how to, you have to teach them how to recognize and treat low blood sugar, and that is hypoglycemia, and how to recognize high blood sugar, that is called as hyperglycemia. So the hypo and the hyper falls with almost all the deficiencies and high production. So diabetes meal has to be given, how to give insulin, how to inject them. All these has to be taught to those people, and very sorrow thing, which when one suffers with the insulin. So diet should be completely taken care of, and it should not contain too much of carbs in it. That is how you have to take care. You can give them regular exercises, and special precautions before, during, and after instant exercise, because if they don't have energy, they may even fall sometimes. So self-testing is very great, and I'll ask them how to operate, how to test their blood sugar, and how to treat, how to take care of their footwear. They should be always with the proper shoes on, and never indulge in any kind of sharp edge things, never walk with the barefooted. And diabetes may damage the blood vessels and the nerves, which can result in the decreased ability to feel injury to or pressure to on the foot. A foot injury could also be unnoticed until severe infection develops. So from the outside, you will not even identify that the inner region of the body part is getting infected. So there will be a small mole kind of thing, or kind of small sore will be projected outside, and it would not heal for even months together. So when they get in, to go to the doctor, they identified that the whole part inside has been converted into pus, and pus formation is taking place, and they have to go for amplitude. That is what we call it as ganglion. You have to be very careful, and skin infection is very deadly and could lead to mortality or death rate, right? So blood sugar has also need to be treated accordingly. Anytime the person may go low sugar, and they have to be given some kind of sweet, so that they can become, come to the normal. So watch for the weakness, shaking, sweating, headache, nervousness, and hunger. And high ketones may also occur when there is enough insulin, right? I'll enter into now. What is the diet you can give them? So it takes around 3,500 calories over and above your daily calorie needs to gain 1 pound of weight, right? So 1 gram of fats, as I've said, you have to calculate the calorie accordingly. So at the Asian scenario, you can give them regular exercises, give them monthly once, a meat or red meat particularly, and weekly once if they are craving for some sweets or poultry or egg could be given. And optional daily, you can give them some kind of fish, white meat can be given to them, and a good amount of vegetables, steamed vegetables, raw vegetables can also be given. Fruits which doesn't have sucrose or direct sugar in it, like chiku or sapota param or sitaparam, palaparam, you have to avoid. Give them fruits like papaya, guava, all even pineapple could also be given to them. Give them good amount of legumes or nuts or dry seeds, chana, kadala, paitam paruppu, all that could be given to them, and ensure that the rice, noodles, bread, ragi, jawar, bajra, corn, all green vegetables, palak, muringa, kira, um, all that can be given. So give them tea with different kinds of beverages, need not be alcoholic, no need of wine. Okay, so this is how you can choose your food. So you can have 3 to 4 servings of cereals, grains, or potatoes, 4 to 5 servings of, this is what I've shown you in the food pyramid. And food sizes have to be controlled very, very carefully. Put all the meals together in a plate and give them and say, this is the food you're going to eat, and you will not come to me again for additional food. So this is how you can control them, by giving them the food. And I have already shown you the chart, how to get onto it, and you should know the calorie. You can't see the calorie by eyes. It is only a unit of measurement that can be calculated. So just by the bowl size or spoon size, you can give them the food. Right now, we will now enter into blood pressure. So what's the time now? Time is there, and try to quickly get onto it. So blood pressure is also there in your syllabus, and blood pressure is basically where the body, you're not able to manage the supply of blood to the various organs, that is where we call it as the pressure. Either to the eye, it might be high, to the kidney or some parts of the body. So what is the normal blood pressure is 120 by 80. If it is slightly higher, it might get elevated to 129 by 80. So systolic and the diastolic. By exercise, we have seen so many researches where the systolic blood pressure sometimes doesn't gets altered. The diastolic sometimes gets altered. So it depends, like whether Tai Chi or yoga or exercise accordingly. So high risk, what it is a 130 and 140. And so today the doctors have also started telling that it is not high based on the age. So for an aged person, 140 is, they say it is a normal. It is only the medical people who make it as a, you are onto the hypertension and all that. But then the result comes as, they start bleeding from the ears sometimes, and they start bleeding from the nose. So all that, when the complication comes, then only it becomes more panic situation when the blood pressure goes high. So what are the symptoms? Basically, particularly in women, you can have blood pressure experience no obvious symptoms until you get into the stroke or heart attack. So that is why you have to go for regular checkup, so that you can identify how well you are able to maintain your blood pressure. So there can be chances which could lead to nose bleeding, as I just now said. That is one symptom. And sometimes people get headache in women. I've seen people bleeding. I've seen them just lying. When the blood pressure goes high, they get into severe dizziness, severe headache. And because hypertension can sneak up on you, and it's especially important to monitor their blood pressure regularly. So they can have sismo manometer, which can measure their blood pressure very frequently. And today the pulse oximeter is one which can also, along with the pulse oximeter, there are certain monitors which has come, which can take your resting heart rate, which can take your oxygen saturation, and can also sometimes measure your blood pressure. So there are many portable which can come. So what should we do when there is a high blood pressure? So here are the effects of high blood pressure, which increases your what should we do when blood pressure is high? So what you need to do is, obviously, exercise is the only treatment which nobody can do on behalf of you. It is the person, each individual have to undergo a series of exercises, because I cannot do for my mom, I cannot do for my father. I can be with my father, I can guide my husband or my children, but I cannot do on behalf of them. So it is that particular individual who have to literally work and do their exercises and do that, and then ensure that they lose their weight accordingly if they're obese, and cut short completely from the sugar, from the salt, and all preserved or the junk foods. So that is already already prepared, and instantly you can prepare something like chips, aplam, pickles, noodles, all are ready-made, chapatis, barotas, all ready-made ones, you process that and then eat very, very dangerous, the processed meat, processed food, which is preserved accordingly, and then stop cessation of the smoking and help it reduce the excess of stress. So where it is shown is basically the tummy starts becoming bigger, pot belly, kind of thing, and excess of stress can also lead to hypertension. Try to go for meditation or medication or yoga can also be done. Thank you, Ram. Now, what are the causes of increase in high blood pressure? Basically, which typically last only for a short period of time, are known as sudden high blood pressure. These are, they are more possible because of the caffeine. You may take excess of coffee without the chicory. So there is a combination. That is why they add chicory and then caffeine together. And when it is taken, sometimes, for those people, it could lead to high. So certain medication, like example of an anti-inflammatory drugs, if taken, or a combination of medication, the blood pressure might sometimes increase and then it would come back. So can hypertension be cured? Hypertension is a chronic disease. It can be controlled, but there is no cure to it. And you can control it only through exercise and the proper diet. So cut short from the whites, all the whites like white sugar, white salt, white milk, white maida, that can be substituted completely. And changing the lifestyle modification is one of the best way that you can, sleeping hours, all that has to be well done. Right, children, students? Any doubt? Hi. Hi, students.
No, mom. Here, mom.
Clear. So I will just take you to the syllabus, my notes for sometimes, and I'll just try to run it. Okay. So just have a look at it and then we will try to run through it and it can help you to prepare for your examination. Can you see some notes?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you. So I'll just run through this and we are on to 126 page, and hypertension, as I've said just now, you can go through the notes, which are very fine. What are the symptoms? You can see what are the causes, the two types of blood pressure, what high blood pressure and the one, and the primary and the essential hypertension is, what are the side effects that could lead to, it could appear when the blood pressure goes, is the obstruction in the sleep, the apnea, you start snoring during the sleep, that is called that. And while you snore, in between, say for 2 hours, you have been snoring and there is a gap where the sleep apnea occurs and there is no supply of oxygen to your body and the person would be sleeping. There won't be any snoring sound at all. So that is little very dangerous, could also affect, and it could lead to kidney problem, adrenal gland tumors could form, thyroid problem could occur, and then certain affects the congenital baby. If the women had been undergoing hypertension during her gestational period, it could also lead to premature baby. So they will not allow the mother to have high blood pressure and then retain the baby in the womb. So in the 8th month, by end of the 7th month or somewhere 8th month also, the baby is born and we call it as premature baby, and they're kept in the incubator and they have been taken care of. Okay, so the certain medication sometimes could also lead to the, as I said earlier. And what are the risk factors? Could be that overage people above 60 could lead to a tendency of getting into hypertension, and race, like blood pressure, blacks and the whites, they call it as. And it is said that the African blood, high blood pressure is particularly common among the people of Africa, and particularly in America, when you see people who died due to corona, and the census have said that it is not the whites who died actually. It has not come to you all, but it is all the blacks. Almost 70 to 80% of the people who died in America due to corona are all blacks who died. So those people are having comorbidity. They are more prone to certain other diseases in them, and that is why the failure could take place. And the family history of if you had your father, mother with a history of that, sometimes we may get, but we can, as I said, if you're exercising, you can break that gene also. So being overweight sometimes, and then physically inactive, using tobacco and too much of salt, in the food, keeping salt on the table, or adding salt while the rice is being cooked. When you're boiling the rice, you add salt to it. The one person is prone to it, and then slowly and gradually only it will affect. And very often getting angry could trigger your adrenal gland, and then it obviously shoots your blood pressure. And then frequently triggering your adrenaline gland by getting angry could also increase the make you hypertensed in future. And getting onto the tablet on this could lead to kidney failure shortly. So avoid getting into medication. I mean, that's my best suggestion I could give. Only exercise and diet can help you to monitor that. And too little of potassium in your diet can also helps you to balance that. And then drinking too much of alcohol can damage your complete organs and organs basically. So if drinking alcohol so in moderate, sometimes it could, you would feel in see actually these things has to be drunk by the people where there are temperature where they're having less temperature of say 5 degrees 6 degree, less than that, to maintain the body temperature they would go for it. But then in Tamil Nadu and all, the temperature is so high, the weather condition is so high. I don't know why the South Indians are drinking, the zero calorie nonsense and trying to spend more of their money in their life and wasting their energy into it. So if the person is getting frequently stressed, it could also lead to hypertension or high blood pressure. So certain chronic conditions, as I said, apnea and kidney disease can also lead to that. And okay, so what are the measures you need to maintain your blood pressure? Lifestyle monitoring, and eat healthy, decrease in salt, maintain healthy body weight, increase physical activity, limit alcohol intake, stop smoking, manage your stress, monitor your blood pressure at home, practice relaxation. That could be done. So what is the diet that you need to take? You can get onto the DASH diet, emphasizes more I mean the portion size, eating the variety of foods and getting into high amount of nutrients is discovered as a DASH diet. I think the nutritionists are there with us, they must be knowing more about it. And then that DASH stands for dietary approaches to stop hypertension, right? And then DASH diet leads to the sodium level. Basically look into that. Some of the vegetables, fruits might contain that, and that has also be monitored. And then moderate amount of whole grain, fish, poultry, nuts has to be given to them in the DASH diet. So standard diet, you can consume up to 2,300 milligram of sodium a day can be taken. And low sodium sugar salts are also sold in the market, which is slightly costly. We call it as rock salt, Hindu salt, Bindu salt. There are certain pink color salt which is sold in the market, and you can buy that and give that is the real salt without any chemicals on it. And what to eat is you can include white color meat, fish, egg white, legumes, all that can be added. And if you go through my notes, you can get the how much of vegetables, just like food pyramid, you can follow the same thing out here also. You can have the less use, as I showed in the food pyramid, what has to be taken. Alcohol and caffeine has to be taken in control form. And then hyperlipidemia is a symptom where you have lots of cholesterol in the blood, and which could also lead to arteriosclerosis and other arterial diseases where the blood arteries are being blocked by the fats or the plaque, we call it as, and it stops the flow of blood to particular organs. So say if the blood supply to the certain organ like heart or to brain or to the kidney is being blocked, the blockage could take place there, and then what happens? So the functions of that particular organ decreases slowly. So this is where it affects. So one have to go for the frequent blood test and detect the high cholesterol. So you can take blood lipid test, and it can speak about your how much of low density, high density triglyceride, total cholesterol, and then what is the ratio of your good and the bad cholesterol takes place. So that, basically one test can give you all the results. So take care. And what are the risk factors that for the high cholesterol is the poor diet, eating fat, red color meat, and cheap meat which is sold. I remember one person in Japan, he said that the meat in Japan used to be very expensive, and one particular race people, used to go to one particular area and get some meat and he used to eat. Right, so this lady all of a sudden had some problem, and when they scanned and saw that in the stomach, full of fats, you know, just like buffalo fats, you can see even for pig, what they do, what is that in the dairy milk and all they are adding, chocolates and all. They just shave the fats of the pigs, and they just add it directly to the chocolates, and that is how the chocolate becomes more. Because, and if you go for cheaper cake which is being sold in the market, in cake you need to have lots of fats to be added to it when you prepare it, make it more spongy. What they do is they make use of this pig fat or buffalo fat which is being put in the cake, and you eat it. When you eat, you can find a kind of layer of the fat which will be on the tongue, it will be greasy kind of thing. Even in the cheap biryani, when you go for it, they don't have to use good amount of ghee or some other fats for the biryani. So they add a little of this. That itself is enough for that. When you go for eating fast foods, in the noodles and all that, they'll have exclusively some kind of oil, a preheated one. It will be a very what to say, processed thick fat content. It will be just they melt it and add a little, and then the food becomes more greasy and kind of thing. It will not get stuck on the kadai or the pan that they're preparing. So you have to be very careful by eating things on the roadside that will be very, very dangerous, which could lead to obesity, which will also make you to increase in the waistline. So fats on your iliac crest gets increased. So that is why they said that very nice parotas will increase the fat. So when the boys are riding and going, whether it is a male or female, nobody can identify. They are so bulky, so much of fat is there. All this rowdies, all those they show, drinking and taking lots of nonsense. They become such a odd people and mischievous people also. Right. So having a larger waistline is a big symptom of getting onto all that. And then lack of exercise, obviously, smoking, chain smoking can also decrease your good cholesterol. And then if the person is suffering from diabetes, they are more prone to hypertension. Right. So you have to get on to, as I said, all this has to be quit. Then pepticulars, you can read in your notes that is there. It is all in bullet form, and this note has been prepared by me. You can read very comfortably, very easy to understand. You can also have that. This is called as inflammatory bowel, and the bowel has got some blood strain inside, and then there is an ulcer which it be formed in the stomach, could lead to cancer. And then this is called as ulcerative colitis. This condition caused long-lasting inflammation and sore or ulcer in the inner part, most of the outer or the larger intestine or the colon and the rectum. So if they don't consume basically the fiber food, and they don't pass the motion, or the bowel is not cleaned every day or every alternate days, it could lead to all kind of problems. Particularly the people in America and Italy and all, they died because they were more on the non-vegetarian food, and every day taking non-vegetarian food can get accumulated in your intestine. And it is the science says that it takes nearly 48 hours for it to get digested. So if Monday you take some non-veg, it converts into a ball kind of thing, and it stores in your body. And then Tuesday again you take, again Wednesday and Thursday. So by the time the Monday non-veg has to be clean, it has to, you have to clean your intestine, and it has to be passed away from your body. If you retain that in your body, it converts into worms, and then it will give a stale smell. And obviously it can, there's some insects, worms are actually there in the stomach, which sometimes through blood it passes and it sits on your brain, and it's to start eating the brain cells, because that is the environment which is very conducive for those worms to sit there, and obviously it leads to brain cancer. And if you don't pass the motion very every day, it's always a good. Some of them have the habit of passing the motion morning and evening, and some people don't even pass motion for 3 days, 4 days. In America, because of the chill weather, they have to go get on to NEMA, where adverse condition, they have to get into that, and then they clean their bowel and then come out. So this corona has got that protein which enters the body and then sits and enters the various organs which are already with the bacteria, and the intestine is not clean, the bowel is not clean. So what happens, it enters their body, and comorbidity, of course, obviously, and slowly the person dies because of the corona. So one have to be very, very precarious about it. The signs and the symptoms of the bowel, this Crohn's disease, is the diarrhea, fever, abdominal pain, cramps, blood in your stool. You have to be very careful. And then reduce in appetite, and then weight loss because of the bleeding. The weight loss can also take place sometimes. So risk factors: age, race, community, it is said that it is science has spoken about certain race who had been suffering from this, and then family history, then cigarette smoking, anti-inflammatory medications, non-steroidal, all that could also lead to that. So anti-inflammatory drugs can be given to them, develop the immunity. Antibiotics can be given. Anti-diarrheal medication could also lead to all that. You can read slowly and have a fiber diet. What is constipation? As I said earlier, you don't pass the motion, you have the tightness of the bowel, and you don't pass at all. So it is very, very dangerous. And the signs and symptoms of chronic constipation is passing fever of the stool in a week. Once in a week, it's சொல்லுவாங்களா பிஏ வராதவனுக்கு குசு வந்துச்சுன்னா people feel very happy. எனக்கு குசுவாது வந்ததுன்னு. So that is how it goes with it. You have to pass stool every day. Passing on once in a week is one of the symptoms. Having lumpy or hard stool, dry, like a blade around the stool, it cuts the anus parts, and then it leads to bleeding, and it is sometimes very fatter than your size of your anus, and it could lead to that. So straining to have the bowel movement, and then blood strains are there. Then blockage of rectum, sometimes we call it as fissure sometimes, getting onto that, there are certain flesh which is formed near the anus area or the rectum area, and much of the skins are formed, and it blocks the complete passage of the stool from that area. So for that, you need to go to doctor, get operated, and take the proper treatment. So that is called, here it is. So anal fissure, this is what is called as anal fissure, where the formation of the skin takes place internally, and sometimes when you push in the toilet, the skin comes out, and again you need to, it gets in back, right? So bowel obstruction, colon cancer, and then narrowing the colon bowel structure, and then abdominal cancer that could lead to, or rectal cancer. So these are all the things which you need to get on to. Very careful, take care of diet, keep doing exercises. The risk factors are, if the person is older, even for pregnant women, we ensure that the person doesn't get into constipation, particularly the heart patients. They should not push while they are passing the motion. So that is why their diet has to be full of fiber, like vaழைத்தண்டு, beans, keera, muringa, all that has got chana, full, with the skin you have to take. If you take something, you peel out all that, you will not get fiber inside. So fiber is something which will not be absorbed by your body, but it tries to clean the bowel, just like a brush. You take a brush, it will clean the complete toilet. In a similar manner, you need to take that. So vaழைத்தண்டு is one of the most important thing which can be taken. Then prevention is including plenty of high fiber food in your diet, beans, vegetables, fruits, whole grain. Okay, keep moving lesser with the processed milk and the dairy or the meat products. Drink plenty of water. Stay as active, regular exercises. Keep yourself away from stress. Ignore the surge to pass stool. Don't ignore. The moment you get motion, whatever it is, like a child, you must go for it, never keep talking. You are getting motion, you're ready to go past motion, but you're talking to somebody. No, don't ignore that. You try to clean your bowel as early as possible. Then make sure children who begin to eat solid foods get plenty of fiber in their diets, particularly children after their mother's milk feed. They are shifting on to the normal diet. Such children will have the problem of gastric problem, and they keep crying. So sometimes they put some soap inside their anus and then allow the child to pass the motion. For such people, you ensure that you give them some smashed carrot, some kind of diet which fiber gets into their body. Potatoes have got a heavy amount of fiber in it, right? So lifestyle change has to be then laxativity, then fiber, bulky, other medications are there. Doctors will give certain kind of medications which can be given, and training your pelvic muscles has to be given, and then this is something the doctors can do. What are the symptoms of anemia? If the person is bleeding, rectus bleeding or anus bleeding has been there, it could also lead to anemia, which could lead to fatigue, weakness, bluish skin, nails becoming pale, face becoming pale, irregular heartbeat, shortness of breath, then dizziness, lightness, chest pain. All these are some of the symptoms where they need to give the food like liver, which can increase the red blood cells, like some of the fruits like pomegranate, and where which you also have B12 is something which is available in kadalaparpu. B6 is there in kadalaparpu, and liver, goat liver has got lots of it, which can improve the RBC in the blood. Have idli with sambar, that can also improve your hemoglobin level. So causes of anemia: iron deficiency, obviously, due to menstrual cycle, after the pregnancy, all that, there are chances of getting on to the anemia, and you have to be very careful about the diet. So vitamin deficiency in anemia, like folate, B12 and all that, can lead to deficiency. Then anemia of chronic disease, if it could also lead to cancer. Somebody suffering from cancer, some suffering from HIV, AIDS, then rheumatoid arthritis, kidney disease, and then Crohn's disease. All that are certain things which could lead to anemia. So you can read all that by yourself. And risk factors: intestinal disorder, menstruation, pregnancy, chronic conditions of kidney failure and all that, and family history. Age above 65, they are more prone to it. How can you prevent? You can give them iron-rich food, can be given. You can give them folate or the nutrients with the dark green vegetables, green peas, kidney beans, fruits, peanuts, bread, cereals, pasta, rice can be given. You can give them food which is rich in B12, like meat, dietary products can be given, soya products can be given. Fruits with vitamin C, with vitamin C, it can absorb the protein, and that, as I said, hemoglobin content can be added. So you give them the vitamin C tablets can be given in addition, or you can give them through fruits, broccoli, tomato, like lime, sweet lime, strawberries, etc. Diet, you can give them proper diet, eat more frequently, small meals can be given, and then give them smoothie, shakes. Watch when you drink. Sorry, I'm having a slight cold. So if the person is overweight, all these you have been knowing. So with this, I'll try to complete the complete portion. Now you can come out with some doubts. Yes, students. Anybody? Subhashini. Okay, you can.
Yes, ma'am. Clear, ma'am.
Very good. Right. Babu. Parthasarthi.
Hey,
Parthasarthi.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Good. You can prepare diet for anybody. Kanna. Kannada.
Yeah, ma'am. Clear.
Very good. Okay. Alphonse.
yes, ma'am.
Very good. Very clear. So I did go a little faster because the notes are available and I've just tried to focus to you how to prepare for your examination, that could be fine. Okay, so Subhashini, you can mute, yeah. Venkat, where is the other girl? Who is that?
Babu.
Babu, how do you find? Okay.
Fine, ma'am.
Thank you. Shweta,
Yeah, ma'am.
you're fine?
Yeah,
Yeah?
ma'am. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you can get ready. Venkat, okay. Arunachalam, vaanga, ella otra vaanga. Sadish,
ma'am.
thank you, Alphonse. Sadish, Urmila,
Yeah, ma'am.
oh, very good. Ganesh, போயிட்டான் Ganesh, ஓடிட்டான். Parda
Yes, ma'am.
Sardi, okay. Parda,
மைக் ஆன் பண்ணாம கத்திட்டு இருக்கேன் மேம்.
Sadish,
That's
thank
it.
you. Very good. Ganesh பார்க்கலாமா? Ganesh தான் ஓடிட்டான். Ganesh ஓடிட்டான். SP Babu, okay. Sivraj, very good. Partha Sarde, okay. Shivraj எங்க ஓடிட்ட? அருணாச்சலம், Venkat, Shivakumar, very good. Okay, sir. Felix, sir. Venkat, tell me. Okay.
Madam. Yes, madam.
Where? Babu.
Felix here.
Yes, sir. Okay, fine. Happy?
Fine, ma'am. Understand.
Very good. Okay. Felix, sir.
Madam. Yes, madam. You finished, madam, today?
Yes, I have completed
ma'am.
the portion for those people. So
Okay.
I